Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Jacqueline Shaw, and I'm here to talk to you today about your body's agenda. And all of our bodies have an agenda, all of our bodies have an internal rhythm, and we call this the circadian rhythm. Now, there's different types of rhythms. Obviously, we have the biological idea and construct of this rhythm, and we also have Chinese circadian rhythm, and we have Ayurvedic circadian rhythm. And we're going to talk today about biological as well as Chinese circadian rhythm. So what is circadian rhythm? It's a natural internal process that regulates the sleep-wake cycle and repeats roughly every 24 hours. So inside of your body, you've got this whole system heading on, working. These organs are working in tandem with this timeline inside of your body. And we notice that these systems are biological processes that are endogenous and trainable oscillation. And so endogenous means it's originated internally, and trainable means that we can train it. So in other words, if you go from New York to California, your biological clock can change, and it will change with the season, and it will change with where you go, where you travel to. One thing that I think is really interesting is the study of fatigue in people who work on airplanes, because they're constantly shifting their circadian rhythm as they go from one state to another or one country to another. And when they do this, it ends up making them very tired because they're resetting their circadian rhythm over and over again, and the body's just fatigued. It needs to have stability in order to establish itself. Then we have oscillation. This is an electrical current of non-mechanical means. So there's this like electricity in our body that is just occurring naturally, and it is definitely feeding off of cues from the environment. We're going to talk about that as well. So if you look at the word circadian, circa means around and diem means day. So around the day, there's certain cycles that happen. Although these rhythms are built in, they can be entrained to local environments, like I said, using light cues. So if you want to jumpstart your circadian rhythm, as soon as you wake up, and we're going to talk about when you should wake up, but as soon as you wake up, look out the window. And within 5 minutes of looking at that light, you will jumpstart your rhythm. So what is circadian rhythm? It was basically discovered that there was these processes going on inside the body a long time ago, but recently it was more proved that there are proteins that turn on and turn off certain processes, and that these are definitely photosensitive proteins. And so these proteins protect the DNA from ultraviolet damage. And because they're turning on and turning off, because we shouldn't be in the sun for 24 hours a day. If we were, and if we were exposed, and if we didn't have protection, it would create a lot of random mutations and things going on, because the sun does that. It catalyzes these types of reactions. And some believe that rhythms were evolved to prevent damaging redox reactions. So why were these proteins developed? To protect our system. Some people believe that it's because to protect the DNA, others to protect overreactions happening and redox reactions happening. So these rhythms show up in all our organs as well as a single cell. They are happening on very small scales and large scales. Okay, and let's talk about chronotherapeutics. And this is the idea of timing when we take our medicine, when we take our drugs to treat certain illnesses based off of our circadian rhythm. And you'll notice that when you take penicillin or whatever it is, it will say what time of day you should take it, how often you should take it, right? And you know, that sync in with your rhythm. Now, if you have a really strong circadian rhythm, you'll be able to take on that medication, and you'll be able to it will really be able to help you if you take it at those certain times. But everybody has a certain rhythm. Now, if somebody takes that medication and say it says, you know, just take it early in the morning and late at night, and say they're going to sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning, their rhythm is completely off to what is proposed by the doctor, right? So it's something to take into consideration. Power naps definitely affect your circadian rhythm. Power naps do not offset your rhythm. However, they can decrease stress and increase productivity. So they don't affect unless you have taken a nap for a very long time. So for example, if you take a nap in the middle of the afternoon, which is actually recommended, well, as we look into this, but if you take a nap that's extensive and it seems like a sleep, if you're taking a nap for more than 30 minutes or for more than 2 hours, you might offset your sleep pattern at night. You might not be tired enough to go to sleep at night because you've gotten so much sleep from that nap. A nap is supposed to be short-lived, okay? Abnormal circadian rhythms can result from patterns that have been offset in your circadian rhythm. So if you're going to sleep way too late and you're waking up way too late, your body is not getting enough light, and all the cycles that are supposed to be happening are not happening because they are built around the light. They're built around your photoreceptors in your brain. So some issues that could happen when you are not sleeping right, or when you're not doing activities in the day that really work with your circadian rhythm and actually might work against it, is you might develop reticular activating system issues. And these are issues with your consciousness. You might lose your memory. You might feel fatigued. Uremia could happen. That means a large waste in the blood can happen if you're not really considering these cycles. Azotemia, which is high urea content in the blood, can happen. Acute kidney injury, again, because the kidney needs rest in order to, well, it needs to be in rhythm. It needs to be in your rhythm, and there has to be healing being done in order for it to do its job. But if we're overexerting our energy and we're not understanding the pockets of energy that we need in order to get what we need to get done during the day and rest during the day and at night, then the kidneys will be affected. And when the kidneys are affected, we have waste in the bloodstream. And when there's waste in the bloodstream, we're not going to be healthy. That's not a healthy thing to happen. So indoor lighting. So roughly speaking, the effect of morning light is that it advances the clock. I had mentioned this before. Now there's something that comes from your computer screen, and it's considered blue light. Now blue light will keep your brain up, right? And the same thing with white light, okay? Certain lights hit the retina, and then all of a sudden your brain wakes up. Now, if you don't have blue light shielding glasses on while you're looking at your TV or your computer at night, then you will probably have a hard time sleeping, okay? And so within 5 minutes of looking at the light, you will start your system. And so light is important. And it says exposure to bright white light can reduce disease-related fatigue. So we do need light. We definitely need light. And there are certain lights that are being developed now that are friendly to our circadian rhythm and keep us in the flow and kind of work with us through the rhythm of the day. And that's actually being advanced, and that's something to look into if you're interested. Weed shifts. So this is a research that I had looked up and that I had seen, and it really intrigued me. People were losing weight. They were losing weight if they changed their rhythm of eating. So for example, if they wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and usually their last meal is at like 10 o'clock when they're eating snacks, right? Then they decide to change it. And instead of their last meal being at 7, because they're waking up at 7, that's 12 hours, their last meal was at 5, right? And it was 10 hours. They started to lose dramatic weight because it should take, and your biggest meal should be breakfast, it should take about 10 hours to digest all of that. And then also all that energy, that excess energy needs to repair your tissues. Now, if you're trying to digest your food while you're sleeping, that takes extra energy, and the other things that need to happen are not really going to be happening with full force energy. And that takes into consideration healing certain organs that are going to be activated at night through this cycle. All right, we're going to pass through that. Basically, what this is saying is about medication and how blood pressure usually declines at bedtime, and in the morning it rises. And so when people take blood pressure medication, they usually take it at night, not unless they have an experience where the medication is keeping them up at night, and then they're not absorbing it and it's coming out in the morning, and there's a diuretic effect to the medication. That most heart attacks actually happen from 12 a.m. to 6 in the morning because blood pressure starts to rise at that time. Okay, exercise. A lot of people say that you should exercise in the morning, but the best time for you to train your strength and your flexibility with exercise, the best time to do that is at night. Okay, the best time to do that is at night. And so the evening, and we're going to talk about specific times. This is a really general overview of all this information, but I also do want to say that you should exercise whenever you can during the day, as long as you're waking up and falling asleep at a certain time. You might not be maximizing your energy at that time, or building muscle, building mass at that time, or helping with flexibility and strength training at the time. But if you do it, that's good. But people do lose more weight when they work out in the evening. And like I said, they're going to be building performance, weightlifting, other strength training programs. It's going to be best to do it in the evening. Okay, so if we look at the biology of this, we notice that at 12 o'clock noon, we're starting to look at it there. And by about 2:30, you have your best coordination. We're going to talk about the best times for you to get your work done. Fastest reaction times, about 3:30. Greatest cardiovascular efficiency and muscle strength, like I said, at 5. So if you're going to have your greatest strength at 5, then you can lift more and then you can train better, right? And then we look at 6:30, you have the highest blood pressure, the highest body temperature. And then we notice that melatonin is a hormone that gets released by the pituitary gland, and it starts to secrete. It starts to secrete around 9 o'clock, okay? And when we're in our rhythm, we're gonna start to notice that we're going to fall asleep. We'll get really tired around 9 o'clock at night. Okay, and at that time, at 10:30, bowel movement suppressions happen, and that's when we know our rhythm is kicking in. We're not going to poop ourselves at night. We are going to have a very deep sleep. We're going to have deep REM. About 25% of our sleep will be REM. About 25% of our sleep will be deep sleep, and that is when the work gets done. Okay, and when I say the work gets done, we repair our tissues and we rejuvenate cells that have been damaged throughout the day, and a lot of processes happen to rebuild ourselves. All right, and if we look from midnight, we notice at 2 a.m. we're in our deepest sleep. If you decide to go to sleep at 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m., you're not going to reach your deepest sleep yet. And so your cycle will be missed. Also, 4:30 in the morning, your body temperature starts to go low. That's when you get cold. That's when you want to pull the blanket on, right? 6:45 is your sharpest rise in blood pressure, okay? So this is when, like we said, a lot of heart attacks start to happen between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. And as we keep going, we see at 7:30 the melatonin secretion stops. That's when we should be rising. There's no reason to sleep when the hormone stops secreting. And when we're on this system, and of course this system can be catapulted and moved and shifted according to when you wake up, when you sleep, but maximizing the amount of energy that you get from the sun's rhythms, from the darkness, and trying to get the most out of your day, you'd want to wake up around 7:30. Bowel movement, usually 8:30. Highest testosterone secretion, 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. So you'll notice those construction workers a little edgy out in the morning. Not that that's a good thing, but you know what I mean. You can channel that energy however you want. You can channel it in a very productive way when that gets secreted. And your highest alertness is at 10 o'clock. And so you can really map your day around these peaks that are happening. I want to take a second to look at the Chinese body clock. And like I said, 4th century, there were people who were looking into, we have an internal system going on, and what is it doing? I want to look into the system. I want to understand what exactly is this system and how can I maximize my energy? And Chinese people did do this. Chinese philosophers did do this. Chinese doctors, acupuncturists, like they still do it. And they believe that this is a correct system. Basically, you can make the most of your energy and specific organs by using them when they're at their peak, okay? So if we understand which organ is at its peak during the day, we can map out our day so that we'll get the best performance from these organs. And we'll nurture the organs the way that we need to. They also believe that qi is responsible for all of this, and the way that it comes into the body, the way it moves through its body, that life force energy moves through these organs in such a way. Okay, so what is the Chinese body clock? If you cannot sleep at night, think of the window of time that you are up, okay? Say you have a hard time sleeping until 5 o'clock in the morning. You go to sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're up and you're up and you're up. We're gonna look at what are those times, those sections of times, those intervals that you're not sleeping, and what organ does that section rule over? And when we find out what section is ruled over, that we'll see, okay, what's happening with these organs? They're not functioning in a way that's in harmony with the rest of the body. So there's something happening with these organs. So take a moment now. I'm going to actually pause the recording so that you can. And I want you to write down your normal moments for waking up, your normal days, your normal daytime time. And if you work the night shift, your normal nighttime time where you wake up. What is the time that you wake up? What is the time you eat breakfast? What's the time when you talk with friends usually? When do you eat lunch? What time do you most focus during the day? When do you eat dinner? What hobbies do you take up? When do you do those hobbies? When do you sleep? Okay, write those down now. I'm going to pause it right now. Okay, we're back. So we noticed that there was many different times many different times coming up for many different people. We had somebody on a grave night shift, and I could just imagine what that is like, right? But even so, we do have to find our rhythms, right? So let's go to the first interval that we'll be discussing. And this interval, let me just move my piece down. Okay, good, so I can see it. Okay, and this interval is 5 to 7 a.m. Okay, so in a normal circadian rhythm, from 5 to 7 a.m., you are processing emotions, and these emotions are usually held in the large intestine. And the emotions are guilt and stagnation, right? The opposite of guilt would be shamelessness. So if you're up at 5 to 7, and the large intestine is the most active during this period from 5 to 7. So if we look at the activity of the organs, this is the most active time for this organ. It's important to begin the day at this time with a glass of warm water on an empty stomach. This is particularly effective for individuals who suffer from chronic constipation. As the energy of the large intestine begins to grow stronger, the water helps act as a catalyst to stimulate peristalsis, thus eliminating toxins in the body. So if you're up at this time, if you're sleeping, that's fine. But if you're up, drinking water will definitely help to purify the toxins being released by this large intestine. And if you're doing it right, if you're sleeping right, if you're sleeping deeply at this time, or if you're sleeping and you've done your deep sleep and you're able to rest so that this repair can be done, so these toxins can be done, because you have enough energy for the toxins to be eliminated from your body, then you'll feel shameless. You'll feel empowered. You won't be experiencing the negative effects when this organ's not taken care of. And it is just wild, because as a therapist, we're always talking about, well, what happened to you outside of your body to make you feel this way? Sometimes if we're just not healthy, if we're just not in rhythm, if we're just not maximizing the energy of our body or understanding the cycles of our bodies, then we'll just be feeling a certain way and we just have no explanation, right? So what is best for me to do at this time? If you wake up from 5 to 7, say you wake up at 6:30, okay, you're still within this window. You get up, you drink your water, drink 2 glasses of water, release your bowels, because you'll have a bowel movement once you wake up if you're in rhythm, okay? Clear your mind, and you can meditate, okay? That would be a really good thing for you to do. So you start the day with warm water. The thing is that your body has been working, your body has been healing the whole time you've been sleeping, okay? And certain processes were going on while you were sleeping, and your body is heated up. And you want to jumpstart it easily. You don't want to hit it with something cold or a cold smoothie early in the morning. You want something warm to go into your body. And this will help you to relax and allow your body to naturally detox, because that is what this intestine is doing. It's detoxing you. Okay? So when you come out of that phase with the large intestine, you go in from 7 to 9 a.m., you go into the phase of the stomach. So this is the time from 7 to 9 when we should eat our breakfast, and it should be a nice large breakfast. So we want to take out, we should eat the morning meal at this time, thus making use of the abundant energy of the stomach. Okay, large intestine just released everything from yesterday. Now it's time to put the food in. From 7 to 9, the food's gonna drop right in that belly, okay? And we want this to be the largest meal of the day. Breakfast should be the largest meal of the day, okay? So what should you do? Aside from eating breakfast, you got this 2-hour window. What's best to maximize the stomach energy? Just, you're starting to digest the big meal. You just ate the big meal. You can study. You can do a light walk. You can do some stretches before you eat that meal, right after you have your 2 glasses of water. And that would maximize this energy right here. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so make it a big one. You can have many different foods and make a nice variety of foods for your breakfast. Of course, healthy, nutritious foods, and eat your vitamins in the morning. It's the best time to eat your vitamins is in the morning. Be it that you take a pill or take a bunch of pills or take gummies like I do. Okay, you can do many things to jumpstart your stomach, right? Also avoid at this time as well, avoid the smoothies and the shakes because we're still easing in the morning. It's still 7 to 9 a.m. So we're going to still kind of have some warmer foods. Your internal organs feel the same way you do in the colds, okay? And the emotion, I just also wanted to speak about the emotion of despair. Now, ever hear of the expression, oh, my stomach just dropped to the floor? Like when someone feels despaired, you know, when they feel like something just hit them, like a side crash kind of a thing, something just crashed into their lives, they didn't expect it. They say, oh, my stomach just fell to the floor. And there's something legit about that because the stomach is definitely a center of that feeling. And, you know, the opposite of despair is hope, right? And if you fill your belly and if you relax while you're filling your belly, you'll be hopeful about the day. And if you don't fill your belly at that time, your belly wants to eat at that time, you may feel despaired. So we're going to talk about that also after. I made a little bit of a journal that you can download as an extra, or you can just take notes from this and make your own journal. But we ask ourselves, okay, how do I feel? It's 7 o'clock in the morning. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. How do I feel right now? Do I feel hopeful or do I feel despaired? Do I have to feed my belly? You know, and that's definitely something that we need to take into account. From 9 to 11, the spleen is going to be activated. This is a great time from 9 to 11 to get the job done, okay? So the emotion that is associated with the spleen is jealousy, low self-worth, and worry. But when you have a well taken care of spleen, you will feel confident during the day. The spleen is thought to be linked to the stomach, which is in charge of receiving the food, obviously, like we said, and drink before ultimately fermenting them. During this period, it's believed that the qi is being propelled toward the spleen. So at this time, energy is now going into the spleen. And as we trace these organs, we're really looking at how they regenerate tissue. We're looking at how they work. We're looking at how they digest food, right? So in the morning, as we digest food, the spleen is very important. So what's best for me to do at this time? Clear thinking. Anything that involves clear thinking. The spleen converts the food to qi. It's a good time for self-love. Good mental work can be done at this time. It's the best time for seniors to exercise, okay? It's a very gentle time. You can get a lot of work done. And I also want to add about the stomach, which was the 7 to 9 interval from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., that in the morning, okay, after you eat and as you start to digest, it's a great time to journal. It's a great time to reflect on your emotions. It's a wonderful time to do CBT if you do that, or any emotion work or any emotional release work, because it's going to jumpstart your day. And while you're just initially digesting and the stomach's doing a lot of work burning up that food, it's a great time for you to relax and really self-love. And yes, 9 to 11 is a time of self-love as well. But you can also do from 9 to 11 a lot of mental work, okay? This is the time where you will be lucid and you could make good financial decisions from 9 to 11. You'll be awake. You'll be at a point where you are just really present. You're really present. The food is out of the stomach. It's being taken care of by the spleen, right? It's traveling through. So you're grounded again. You're not doing too much work in the belly. And now you could be grounded and you can really focus and analyze things, okay? In Chinese medicine, the spleen is considered the most important digestive organ. It's key to building blood, okay? So this is important. This is very, very, very important because we often think of the stomach as the one doing all the work or most of the work. But the thing is that if we don't get the food in there before that window, we want to try to get it before 11 because we know that the spleen is highlighted during that time, that it's ready to work. It's ready to do that work. And you can squeeze in the breakfast before 11 if you wake up late, right? While your spleen's busy transmuting food into usable energy, you're able to work and use mental energy, okay? So we haven't gone into physical energy yet. This is all mental, very lucid mental energy. All right, now this is an important time, all right? So we ate our breakfast, we did our emotional work, then we moved to some mental work while we were digesting. We had great mental acuity. We did a lot of our work for our jobs. We did a lot of our work for organizing our finances. We really did some detailed laser beam work. Maybe we did some brain exercises. We did something to keep our minds busy while our spleen was taking over. And the heart is next. So, and I do want to mention that there's all different ideas about this chi energy, okay? It is said that yin, which is the feminine energy, takes over at night. And then during the day, you have yang energy, right? But I would beg to differ that all throughout the day, there's this marriage of the energies, right? And so even as we ease into the yang energy, there's a lot of emotional energy of just beingness, okay? And if that's yin, that works. And now as we enter the lunch period, the emotion associated with the heart is either joy or sadness. What are we going to choose? How are we going to treat our hearts? Because the heart represents peacefulness, it's essential to reduce stress during this period. Okay, so this is the time where we have a light lunch and we can socialize with friends. Okay, it's very good for the heart to do that. And anything that has to do with blood circulation, you can get a massage from 11 to 1. It will be really beneficial. Or you can have a lunch with friends and it will really land on you in a good way. It will make you feel more positive about those interactions than maybe another part of the day, because that's the time where your heart is open. That's when your heart is ready. It's beaming. It's ready to give energy. Okay. It's working. It's working. It's in a state of working. From 1 to 3, the emotion could be either security or insecurity, depending on how you take care of your small intestine. So from 1 to 3, heavier meals are believed to be more tolerated during this time, as the chi expands and begins to crest at midday. So what's best for you to do during this time? And this is when the small intestine is active. So what the small intestine does is different than the large intestine. Large intestine was going to release everything, right? But what the small intestine does is it sorts, and it's that energy of sorting that will probably be most optimized, because our body's naturally sorting, that if we want to sort, it would be a great time to do that. Or if we want to nap, it's a good time to have a nice midday nap. Like I said, we don't want to go over 3 hours because that could mess with our nighttime sleep patterns, right? But we're still into drinking warm liquids right now. Drink warm tea to dilute the blood. And this is a good time to do highly organized tasks. So if you have to organize your closet, or if you have to assign jobs to people and you're a manager and you have to try and figure out and multitask who needs to do what, you'll be able to really get that energy. When you're in tune with your circadian rhythm, your energy for doing this, for sorting and shifting and organizing, will be maximized. And again, this all is dependent upon your sleep cycle, your deep sleep cycle, your REM, this having the capability of sleeping for an extended period of time from one time to another. And you're going to say 9 to 6, right? Or 9 to 7, or 10 to 7, right? We ballpark in that area. And that's why we have these time brackets, because this is the time. This is the time you've eaten. This is the time where the small intestine is sorting through the foods. And this is the time your body is in the energy of organizing, that you'll be in the energy of organizing as well. Because if you're trying to release while your body's organizing, there's a mixture of intention in the form of yourself, right? So you want to be completely focused on what you're doing. The body's processing again after a second meal, separating usable energy from waste. This separating action puts things into perspective for the body, so it's more common to deal with the indigestion or bloating at this time. Yet another reason to go for a light lunch. You're also emotionally processing as this happens, and if insecurity comes up, take notice and don't try to force it or repress it. You have to face it, okay? So you want to face your feelings during this time. And, it's almost as if you're shifting through life, and now you're shifting through emotions, okay? And this work can be emotional work when you're shifting and sorting and you're choosing, you're understanding, okay, well, this makes me feel one way and this makes me feel another way. And you're deciding what you want to do with your life. This is a great time for that as well. Great time to see a counselor. Great time to figure out what you're going to do for a vacation, right? And make choices and shift and sort through all of the options. The bladder and the kidney is the organs. They are the organs that, well, we'll just say the bladder for now, because we'll say kidneys another section, right? So we're just going to say bladder. So from 3 to 5 p.m., your bladder is working overtime, okay? From 3 to 5 in the afternoon. That's when it's your bladder's time to shine, okay? And if your bladder is not working to its optimal level, you will feel irritation at this time. And so paying attention to your emotions. And this is a wild science because it is very integrated. We've got emotional aspects, we've got behavioral aspects, we've got thinking aspects, the thinking of the intention of what am I going to do with this information, right? So with the bladder, it's believed that the kidney is in charge of containing the qi and is directly connected with the bladder. So together they excrete unwanted waste materials within the body. So you have the kidneys are going to be excreting and the bladder. So the bladder starts the process, okay? Getting rid of what you don't want. Getting rid of what you don't want. Getting rid of the waste. If you don't get rid of it, you'll be irritated. If you get rid of it, you'll be satisfied, right? So it's all connected. So when is the best time for me, for me, what is best for me to do at this time? Energy restored, liquid waste released, and work and study, okay? Enjoy some salt candies or a snack. The bladder loves that. When you have a nice salty snack, the bladder enjoys. It's good for the bladder to have a little bit of salt. And at that time, that would be helpful. The kidneys are associated with fear. And as the food enters into the kidneys and the kidneys start working in this rhythm in our bodies, it's believed that the kidney is in charge, like I said before, of containing the qi. And this is a great time to exercise from 5 to 7 p.m. At this point, you're going to be storing nutrients in your body. You might want to start off by exercising and then finish with a little bit of a dinner, right? But this is the point, and the kidneys do represent this revitalization of energy. Really empowering the self with energy, not being depleted by other sources. And that's what fear does. Fear depletes us of what we have. But when we're rejuvenating, when we're replenishing our vital energy, kidneys are doing well, right? And so emotions can come from within. Emotions can come from our organs speaking to us. This is a completely different topic than anything else I've ever discussed with any of you. But yeah, I mean, it's a reality. It's a reality of health. So signs of kidney and adrenal fatigue include lack of libido, lower back pain, and early graying of hair. Okay. So this is a really interesting, a very interesting part of the body. And it's called the pericardium. The pericardium is like the heart wall. It protects the heart. Okay, so we already did visit the heart at lunchtime, right? When we want to socialize and get into our hearts. It's also a great time to do heart math, or it's a great time for you to ask your heart questions and do some contemplating on the heart at that point, right? That self-love part. But this is all about emotional support. This is the protection around the heart, okay? If the heart is what you give, the pericardium is what you receive from others, okay? And so being able to receive love gives us euphoria. Being able to receive love gives us compassion. This is the part of the body that is working at this time from 7 to 9 p.m. This is the part of the body that exudes euphoria, okay, when it is healthy. The pericardium is believed to be the protector of the heart. This period is when qi is supposedly regulated to prevent symptoms such as nausea and vomiting. So we had this process in the stomach, and then it went to the spleen, and then, we have the small intestine where it's sorted. We have the bladder, we have all these systems it's going into, and now we have to prevent ourselves from getting nauseous from all of it. And that is when this kicks in. This is a great time for having fun. From 7 to 9, right before you go to bed, have some fun. You can go out with friends. You can play music. It would be a great time to do another little gentle stretch, because we did a gentle stretch in the morning. And then around 5 o'clock, 5 to 7, we exercised after or before we had dinner. And now from 7 to 9, we're winding down. We can do a little bit of stretching. We can go dancing, something that's heart-centered, protective, social. And this is actually in tune with what the function is of this part, which is really amazing. And also sexual activity. This is a time where sexual activity would probably be best. You'd have the most energy for it, and where it would be positioned in the time of the day where you would be exhausted afterwards. So it works out. You would have good sleep after. And then we go to the emotion that is associated with the triple burner. Now, you should be asleep by 9 if you're really abiding by this natural rhythm in your body. If you go to sleep at 9:30, the triple burner will have been enhanced. It will have been working. The triple burner refers to the organ system as a whole. And this period is thought to be when it generates the most heat, okay? So your body's going to be giving off all this heat. You just had the time of your life in your circadian rhythm, and now you're going to be very hot. And the feelings associated with these systems kind of burning is confusion, hopelessness, And so at night, when we rest our head on the pillow, we want to have clarity. We want to feel like we have used all our energy and we are ready to sleep. And that is the point where we kind of just easily doze into sleep. And if you have issues or you have a hard time falling asleep, notice what time it is when you're having a hard time falling asleep. Dealing with the emotions that are associated with that time or with those organs can help, okay? And yeah, that's something to look at. Definitely hydrate before you go to bed. Make sure that you're well hydrated throughout the day as well. And really just rest. I mean, that's the best thing that you can do. If you're dealing with headaches or feeling deficient in general, it likely means that you need hydration for better metabolism and repair and support for the blood. Sleeping and relaxing during this time is important in order to keep the body healthy. Okay, when we're asleep, we should be asleep by now with the gallbladder, okay? By 11 o'clock, when gallbladder kicks in, we should be asleep by that rhythm, okay? The gallbladder, if we're up and we can't fall asleep before 1 o'clock, 1 a.m., from 11 to 1 a.m., we may be suffering from indecisiveness or resentment, okay? So we have to try and come up with a clear plan in our lives, and trying to resolve that indecisiveness might give us some rest. Gallbladder is responsible for giving birth to the first yang energy cycle. So like I said, the yang energy in its infantile state is highly vulnerable. Therefore, we must protect and allow it to grow through proper sleep. Okay, so we want to be able to ease into this cycle, and we want to be asleep by this time. What's the best time for me to? What is the best for me to do at this time? Sleep. You should be asleep by 11 p.m. You just should. You're going to be releasing bile at this time. Your cells are going to be repairing at this time. You're going to be building blood cells, and particularly white blood cells and red blood cells, and they're going to help defend you against illness. These blood cells are very important. From 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., the liver takes over, and this is important for you to be asleep. If you are up from 1 to 3 a.m. in the morning, you may be experiencing anxiety or frustration. And the opposite of anger is happiness, right? And being content. And so if you're experiencing these strong feelings, you might be up at night, okay? And so resolving these feelings can help you bring rest, or trying to get yourself up a little bit earlier and getting yourself on another rhythm. The liver carries out its psychological functions of filtering toxins and producing blood during this time. Extensive clinical observation has shown that many patients who suffer from liver disease are fond of staying up late into the night. This deprives their liver of adequate opportunity to complete its tasks, and over time leads to illness, okay? So if you're up really early in the morning from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. all the time, you're prone to be ill, you're prone to illness. What's best for you to do? Sleep, sleep, sleep. And address the unaddressed anger and the anxiety or frustration. The lungs, from 3 to 5. You'll notice when you wake up, if you come from a very deep sleep, good slumber, you'll notice this real peaceful breath, just real even breath coming from your lungs. And if you get up early, if you get up at around 5 and you're just coming out of that sleep, oh, the peaceful energy of that rhythm, of that breath is breathtaking. It's beautiful. And it's because the lungs are activated. And at this time, the yin and yang energy are at balance. This period is when the lungs are at their peak. Soft inhales and exhales are key during this time, which is good news considering you're likely already doing this as you sleep. During sleep, you're processing your day and enriching your body with oxygen through gentle breathing. And Dan is the guy from the article. This process assists the body with the elimination of toxic waste and boosts immunity. If you're often waking up during these hours, it can be an indication of sadness or grief that needs to be addressed, okay? And so we notice that the lungs are associated with grief and sadness. when we are sad, we are short of breath. When we are sad, our breath is hollow, okay, and shallow, okay? But when we are not grieving, when we're in a state of happiness, we're in a state of peace and harmony, the breath is seamlessly deep and consistent, right? And like we say for all of these, this is the nighttime from 3 to 5, you should be asleep. And your sleep, if you're sleeping at that time, it will regulate your breath to be more consistent. And you can also let go of your grief through your dreams. So this is a schedule that I made for everyone who is partaking in this class. If you donated $20 to see this workshop, I am definitely giving it to you for free. If you've donated less, then it's $1 for download. And it shows, what the best activities are to do in the morning. And you can put a check mark on if you did things to cultivate and nourish those organs at those times. Or if you did actions that coincide with these organs, then it's a good thing. Also, you can circle how you feel under the emotions column. And we can kind of get a checklist of things that you want to do. And of course, those things could be compatible with what's listed. And, a little bit of a notation each hour. And you can do this for these intervals of time to get on your rhythm. And I think doing this kind of work is really important, really, really important. And we have, what should you be doing for each hour, for each interval? And yeah, thank you so much for coming to this workshop. I really appreciate you coming. And I'm so happy that we got to talk about this topic. I know a lot of you have told me that you're having a hard time sleeping at night, and that's what made me think of this topic. I'm so glad so many of you showed up today. It's like overwhelming how many people are here. We've been building this for a while now, and yeah, I just want to say thank you. And I hope that we can get to better health together. And if this helps unlock your inner energy, then so be it. It's definitely an ancient study. And right now, there's biology supporting these rhythms as well. So they seem to be credible, and they seem to be something that can guide us to better health. Have a great night, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.